It is the hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you in here live on a Monday. NFL Week 1 in the books. Well, almost in the books. There's still another game coming up later on tonight. But I woke up today pissed off. I woke up today angry, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's football season. I go, hold on, don't even laugh. Your mic's not even on. You don't get to laugh yet. You don't even like your quarterback. The quarterback helps you get a damn win, and now you're in here. Oh, yeah. Have Nash, ladies and gentlemen.
What up, though?
Nope.
Mondays are for winners.
Moral victories over here. That's what we're going to talk about. A big win in Cincinnati or for Cincinnati over the weekend. We'll open up with that. The Reds take 2 or 3 from the Mets, and that's what we're going to open up with. We're going to have Cincinnati's big win. There you go. All right, a lot to dive into here today. Yes, Browns-Bengals, of course. That's what we're going to open up with. A lot of takeaways from that game. What a weird game. I mean, literally, did the better team lose? I mean, like, Cleveland was better than Cincinnati in every single facet of the game except for. In a moment, I felt like the Browns had OBJ back. I felt like Odell Beckham Jr. Was back in old Cleveland yesterday. But we'll open up with this matchup. Of course, college football, boring weekend. It was kind of a boring weekend in college. We're good at the games. I sat back, watched the game. Overall, boring weekend.
It went pretty much as scripted outside of USF beating Florida at the Swamp. That was a great road victory for the Bulls of USF. I got a buddy that actually lives in Tampa, and he hates when they win big games like this because he can't get anywhere in town. Even though they were on the road, it just went absolutely crazy down there in Tampa, as it should when you beat the Gators at home with your look at your little brother in the state, especially when you in a state with Miami and Florida State, stuff like that. But outside of that game, I think everything went pretty much as scripted. Ohio State won 70-0. The other team that I follow, Florida State, won 77-3. The other team that I follow beat the cheating team up north. My nephew had a monster hit. So yeah, it went swimmingly. I sent you that video, right?
Yes. So here's a friend of mine. She was saying that she went to the Ohio State game and she predicted that Ohio State would win 70-0. And she's like to place bets, and of course, the one time she didn't place the bet, she told me before the game it was 70-0, and she was actually pissed off as we were getting closer to that 70-0 potential score because the one time she didn't. And I like predicting the final scores too. I do that in baseball more than anything. Yeah, she missed the mark. Right. But yes, Charles, man, talk about your family. Your family.
Boom.
Yeah, a monster hit that was late and illegal. But okay.
Football, man. I don't know what to tell you. Football. Your team never did a late hit before. The rest of the play, teetering on the line is a safety. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to push people to the ground and make sure they land on the ground nice and softly. You're an intimidator. You're a strong safety. Be strong. You can never do it. Ever. See his last name.
Who's coaching them this weekend?
Shaw, probably.
I saw the pictures. His name's Biff.
Biff, like from Back to the Future?
Yeah. The name of the coach, it's, replacing Shamar. Why is he suspended again? Hold on, college football. We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm not avoiding it. Look, before the show even started, our guy Roger on YouTube. What up, Roger? Roger says, no moral victories in the NFL, Kenner. No moral. I mean, the show hadn't even started, and these were waiting for me. And there is it. Bengals 1-0, Browns 0-1. I mean, Roger's coming in dropping facts. I mean, he's no more victories in the NFL. The Bengals are 1-0, and the Browns are 0-1. Can't argue with any of those comments right off the bat. Randy Scott Jr. What up, Randy? Randy Scott on YouTube says that did not feel like a win for the Bengals. I'll take it, but there will be no bragging about it. What a weird game. You have the team that won. Some fans are Randy Scott Jr. here on YouTube. We appreciate him tuning in. By the way, you can tune in to the show on YouTube, ESPN's YouTube channel, ESPN Facebook page, whatever. But you can interact with the show that way. He's right, Kev. It's like there are Bengals fans who are, at least somewhat realistic that they're happy they won, but they don't feel good about it. And then you have the Browns who are pissed that they lost, but they feel good about the game. And that's where That's where we're at. There's a lot of things about that game yesterday that I felt really, really good about. I've been pounding my fist on the table saying Cleveland's better than everyone's given. Like insane. That defense was horrendous last year because so many guys were out and injured, and that's just kind of what happens, right? Like, but then that season kind of snowballed out of control. It is what it is. Cleveland's not elite. They're not great. They're not good, but they're not bad. They're not horrendous. They're not going to have a top 3 pick in the NFL, in the draft, in my opinion. But that's not really me bragging about anything other than saying, hey, everyone that's just acting like Cincinnati's just going to run all over this team. That's not going to happen. I said Cleveland has every weapon that you need to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, they can run the football. They did not. We're going to get to that in a moment. I can't tell if that was a product of the Bengals defense adding a layer of improvement or the Browns, that's just life within the post-Nick Chubb era. I don't know. Maybe there's somewhere in the middle, then we'll discuss that more in a moment. But I am not going to sit here. I've seen and heard a lot of things. Here's Rich Eisen earlier today. Rich Eisen had this to say. It's a very quick clip. Rich Eisen, who, by the way, is now on ESPN Radio, which we love, a great lead-in show for us every day from noon to 3. Rich Eisen had this quick but right to the point, assessment of what to make of the Cincinnati Bengals.
We're all saying the Bengals can't win because their defense stinks, and their defense is the reason why they're 1-0.
I love Rich Eisen. He's great, but he's wrong. That defense is not why they're 1-0. That defense, we could say, okay, there's some things that are improved from last year, but I don't know how you could sit there and look at that defense and tell me that defense went out there and physically won that game yesterday. Cleveland, I mean, as I'm trying to make a point about why your team's defense is not improved, I'm almost making that point by telling you how bad my team is, even though I'm here to tell you that my team's not as bad as what you guys are making them out to be. But there was a lot of bad to take away from Cleveland yesterday, despite all the good. Well, look at this tape right here, or at least look at this. The stats don't lie as we sit here right now and watch this as far as I'm concerned, Kev. When you sit here and look at how everything broke down yesterday, I mean, Cleveland 1 billion % just dismantled Cincinnati. They did, I mean, from a total yard standpoint, outgained Cincinnati 327 to 141. Joe Flacco outplayed Joe Burrow. I told you Joe was going to be the best Joe on the field. Joe Flacco, in the passing game for the Browns, 279 yards to 96. I mean, on the ground, the Browns are horrible on the ground yesterday and still outrushed the Cincinnati Bengals. Yards per play almost doubled what the Cincinnati Bengals did on yards per play. They had more first down. They were better on third down. Hell, they were better on fourth down. They ran more plays. They got Joe Burrow more. I mean, they did absolutely everything you could possibly do to win a football game except make the plays when they needed to, when they mattered most. Did the defense stop? I mean, I saw this lineup or this graphic a little bit ago, too, that talked about the Bengals getting those big stops over the last 4 plays. The last 4 stops for the Bengals, 2 of those were interceptions. They weren't your typical Joe Flacco interceptions, though. This sounds like I'm making an excuse. I think we can all agree when watching that. Those were well-thrown balls to guys who were wide open. They OBJ'd it right through their hands, popped in the air. I'm not putting that on Joe Flacco, and I wouldn't put it on Joe Burrow if the roles were worse. That's not on Joe Flacco, and the defender didn't stop anybody. The receiver dropped it. I mean, you simply dropped it. Not other first downs, Jerry Jeudy, wide open. I mean, extend drive, dropped it. Then look, that stuff right there. And the missed field goal, the extra point. The second he missed that extra point, last name was Smith, by the way, after all the fun that people are having with the name. Smith happens, all this stuff. Like, it did. And there was a lot of Smiths yesterday going on with that game, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of takeaways on that game. I think 2 things can be true. A win's a win, yes, but there's nothing that the Bengals fans need to be coming at me bragging about, because that was a horrendous game of the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're going to tell me how bad the Browns are, you should be appalled. You should be ashamed. You should be embarrassed. However, you looked like this last year in week 1 and didn't come away with the win. And that's really what this is all about. This isn't college where you have to get style points. Thank goodness. Because you'd be kicked out of the league if style points even mattered yesterday. But wild. I've never seen a game that's that lopsided. The team that dominated lost it like that. That was wild.
Yeah, it was crazy yesterday. So I'm out at a restaurant and I'm watching the Steelers game. My wife is watching the Browns game. And, we're eating together, but we're not. So she's just going crazy about all the blown opportunities that are there for the Cincinnati Bengals. For the Cleveland Browns, and they obviously missed extra points, missed the field goals, interceptions, and stuff like that. It was there to be had, but that's what happens. Bad teams find a way to lose games, and in this situation, that bad team is the Cleveland Browns. And the team that won the game is the Cincinnati Bengals. So if I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, yes, I am upset about how we played. But ultimately, like you just talked about, yeah, man, got to win. Because if you'd have lost the game, you'd be even more upset. So it's a situation where, hey, man, at the end of the day, if the NFL is all about getting the dub, because I truly believe a win is a win, but a loss isn't a loss in this league. I think losses like this, especially early in the season, can derail the season. And I think wins like this can propel a season because, hey, man, we obviously played bad, but we got to win, which is the most important thing because we've seen the Cincinnati Bengals play well on offense and lose games as well. Like, thinking back to what I think it was last year when they went to Kansas City. And yes, because they lost to New England week 1, played so well against KC, still lost the game. So it's kind of like one of those things, not to be quoting one of the greatest basketball movies of all time, White Man Can't Jump, but like, hey, you'd rather look good and lose or look bad and win. And the Cincinnati Bengals look very bad, especially on offense, but ultimately they got the dub. And I am a person that truly believes that, like, when you get turnovers, you're like kind of blessed. I won't say turnovers are luck, but like there is a luck element to them. And when you're like dawned that season, because there's been plenty of seasons where Cincinnati Bengals have led the league in turnovers. Most of the time in those seasons, that's when they do really well during the season. Um, you got the turnovers. You got the turnovers that help you win. Yeah, you can drop passes. And when we talk about one of the things I always talk about is not, hey man, Joe Flacco versus Joe Burrow. It's not, Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. It is the Bengals versus the Browns. So offense, defense, special teams. And ultimately the Bengals made enough plays to help them win.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know, but like that, like I see, Shaw, who's, he's fired up today. Bengals fans definitely can come at you. You're guaranteed to win. Doesn't matter how it happened or why it happened. The Browns lost. That's why they are coming at you. No, no, no. I agree. If that was like a normal like game and it went out like how everyone anticipated, if the Bengals would have, won like 28-17 or whatever, well, that would require, hitting both extra points and the damn field goal. Heaven forbid that freaking happened in Cincinnati. But that's besides the point. As I sit here right now, all I'm saying is you could be happy about the win, but to make fun of me for how your team looked yesterday, I just think this is one we should all. I think I can admit a win's a win. Good for you. But I'm not sitting here looking at you guys saying, man, you showed us. I mean, we showed us. The Browns showed us. I mean, Cleveland, that's the most Cleveland loss ever. Even when you play good, you still find a way to lose a game, which really, it's unfortunate, especially that, I've been super high on Tillman. I've been talking about him for over a year now. It's why I was ticked off right when we saw Deshaun go down last year and they went to Jameis Winston. Cedric Tillman's production just exploded. But everyone had kind of given up on looking at the Browns being a quality team, so no one put any stock into it. And then he gets hurt against Pittsburgh in that snow globe game and was out for the rest of the year. And then he comes in yesterday. I've talked about a lot of players coming into this. I was super high on Cedric Tillman, and I was super high on, obviously, Harold Penny Jr. I was super jacked when the Browns got him. I drafted him out of Bowling Green in the middle of the draft. He was an impact guy. Sampson, super excited about him, the running back from Tennessee. Even though the run game was still bad for the Browns, but he showed a lot of pop, whether it was in the pass game or whether it was, stuff like that. And the run game, I think, is more of an offensive line issue at this point, which we can talk about more coming up in a moment.
Jones, baby.
Yeah, I mean, he did like the penalties for him too. Like he's regressed. Even though he's a better safety than last year, his rookie year dominated. Like, I mean, he dominated as a rookie. Not too much now. Maybe he needs to get fatter. I'm not really sure how fatter or I don't know how that works. But bottom line is Cleveland and Cincinnati aren't in the same category. Cincinnati, they put themselves in the Super Bowl contender category. The Browns are a team that, although everyone puts them in that group of, hey, they're going to be picking a top to draft, I said, no, unfortunately, I'd rather them be picking a top to draft. I think they're going to be picking right in the middle because I think they're an 8 to 9 win team. I think that defense, as we saw yesterday, is why I was high on them. I was high on them because of Cedric Tillman, high on them because of Joe Flacco. That offensive line still protected all right. I think Cleveland has enough. I think they have just enough to be a pain in their own ass because I think they need to be bad. They need to be bad enough to be picking the top of the draft. I think they're just good enough where they're going to win that 7, 8, 9 games in that coming up season. There's a lot I felt good about yesterday. The result, still pouting about that. For Cleveland, there's a lot that I feel good about what I saw yesterday, especially because Schlesinger, by the way, the linebacker from UCLA, I mean, he was all over the place. Absolutely all over the place as far as that goes. So to see young players that they're drafting going up and making an immediate impact, I feel okay.
I think the biggest thing from the game for me is the video that's floating around on social media when the Browns wanted to go take the stunt and the camera angle of Miles Garrett coming straight down the highway doing about 90 miles an hour coming straight for Joe Burrow. That is a scary sight. Now, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I make my jokes about, Miles Garrett and stuff like that. You would never hear me say that Miles Garrett isn't good at football, or if I was one-on-one with him, I wouldn't be crapping my pants. Like, that video is amazing. I mean, he was outstanding in that game. Like, he was wrecking shop as he always does versus Cincinnati Bengals. But yeah, I mean, you look at it from the Browns' perspective, the right quarterback is playing right now. Seems like the young talent is good, and Sampson and Harold and Jr. But it's the small things. It's the small things that help you get over the hump, like catching the ball or making an extra point, all those things. But it's a long season. I mean, judging off of what I was able to see last night in the Ravens and Bills game, I mean, it don't matter if the Ravens are up 15, 16, 17 points in the fourth quarter. Hey, man, you can come back on them.
That's been an issue for them for years.
Yeah.
We'll calm down that scoreboard in a moment.
So the Browns got them next week. So, hey, man, when it's over, it isn't over when you're playing Ravens, apparently.
No, and they could be up on early. I mean, especially I looked at the way that Browns Vegas game started. Joe Burrow and company, they marched right down the field, score on the first drive, and I'm like, okay. Ended up being a day, but not in the way that I thought it was going to be. Where did it go? I saw the comment in here. There it is. Jake Waddington. That was nothing more than the typical AFC North football game. We've taken 5 of 6 from Cleveland. Yes, that was a typical AFC North football game. As far as just hard hitting, it was only hard hitting on one side. I mean, I don't think Cincinnati won. It's not even up for debate. I'm not even saying their win doesn't count. It counts. Cleveland's 0-1, and they're probably going to lose the Baltimore this week and be 0-2, and it's going to be even a harder pill to swallow because you could have at least lost to Baltimore and said, well, at least we're 1-1, 2 division games in. That's kind of the situation that they're in. But Cincinnati didn't stop Cleveland. Cincinnati didn't overwhelm Cleveland. Cincinnati's defense, there's 4 plays that changed the entire direction of that game. 5 if you 6 if you want to include the missed field goal. But as I stated, 2 drops that happened. Jerry Jeudy wide open on the sideline. It extends that drive. Cincinnati wasn't stopping Cleveland. Joe Flacco was picking them apart. Their secondary is bad. I do like Stewart. I do like Shamar Stewart. Nothing was wrong on him, but I thought he looked very, very good. If we get to that in a moment, I am praising Cincinnati on some things. There are some things I really like. The secondary, not so much. But Tillman dropping one that was right in his hands that would have extended a drive. Cleveland was moving the ball down the field. It wasn't a stop. It was a stop, technically, by how it worked. But, Cincinnati didn't, take things away from them. They took stuff away from themselves. The 2 interceptions. Those weren't, the confusing coverage just got the best of 55-year-old Joe Flacco. No, by the way, they schemed these guys wide open against their future defense, and instead of taking advantage of the scheme, leaving them being wide open, they drop it. Like Cleveland stopped themselves. It was Browns is the Browns. This wasn't the Bengals is the Bengals getting the best of the Browns. The Browns got the best of themselves, and we were there to relish in it and then to take advantage of it. Congrats, you got the win. It ticks me off. I got nothing to say about that, but I'm also not going to sit here and read these comments and act as if, you took it from the Browns and all this. The Browns, they gave it to you. They gave it. And your quarterback, the powder, Joe Burrow, said it afterwards. We stole one. They stole one. Simple as that.
Yes, for sure. No doubt about it. Also, Harold Fanning Jr., as well as the play, he had a drop on that last drive. If he makes that catch, who knows how that drive ends. Maybe it ends in the end zone as opposed to settling for a field goal with the kicker.
It happens. Whatever that name is. But don't worry. The fans can come out, so there's a lot of confidence that they have in him as far as that goes. But either way. All right. I'm Justin Kidder. He's Kevin Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. The comments were live on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, live on the Facebook page. pick up more with the Bengals when we come back because I want to hear. I saw something different, but I want to know what our listeners saw. Bengals fans, you feel good about that win, but do you feel good about the team? You feel good about anytime you win, you got to feel good. You'll take it. But are you convinced that this team showed in week 1 in game 1 that they've taken a step from last season to this season? We'll discuss more when we come back. Justin Kiddo, Kevin Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash, back to here on 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410, 937-518-1410. Matt Fink, by the way, we're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. You can go watch the show and tune in. Look there, leave your comments in the chat. And so, Matt Fink, up for the show. I'm a Bengals fan. I'll take the win, but absolutely we brag about. We have to do better on the Jets. And I think we all agree with it. Take out the trolling tone in my voice on some of this stuff. I think the reality is a year ago, I've seen a lot of the narratives on social media that are floating around that a year ago the Bengals they don't win that game. That's where the luck element comes in. Like, what did the Bengals do differently? Against the Browns that they didn't do last year in close games when the ball went their way. We literally went their way. I think Cincinnati, I think the one thing too, they're lucky they won. Is they played bad in week ones before. They were bad against. That was bad yesterday. that was not and I am curious. By the way, I do the offense is fine. I think the question about the defense is I don't think the defense is that good. I think maybe they might have improved against the run from our Stewart or something maybe that's going to be slightly improved. I did have a problem with he was good at doing this.
I did not.
Oh yeah, to be fair though, I think he's had a hard time bringing his hands down because he's been doing this the whole offseason. Fine. So I got to get this out of that. But no, they lose that game a year ago. Feel good about the win, but I do appreciate that there are some fans who are realistic, saying, "Hey, I'll take the win, but absolutely nothing to brag about. We have to be better on the Jacksonville." We're going to find out about their defense against the run. ETN just rushed 120 something. He popped off. I don't know what to make of Jacksonville. They looked good week one. They looked better than what they looked last year. All week one. He was bad in week one. He was good in week one. The jury's still out.
Yeah.
The reason I don't think the jury's out on the defense of the Bengals as much is because we've seen this exact defense a year ago. And we've seen it as more in the past than we did yesterday. But Cleveland, I want to know, was that run game taken away, or was there no run game that we had to Cleveland? We're going to find out.
Oh, for sure. As far as the Cincinnati Bengals and their, secondary stuff like that, you get better in the secondary half. You know what I'm saying? So with Jamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson there, them getting more reps together. Obviously, Hendrickson wasn't there in the offseason, and neither was Jamar Stewart for that matter. So, they're knocking off the rust, so to speak. You get a better pass rush, it makes, just your secondary way better because the quarterback doesn't have much time to sit back there and pick you apart. So, yeah, that's the biggest part for me. Guys are going to be the guys, but the improvement is the players. You know what I'm saying? Because you already have guys that's on the team. What did you do to improve? Who is new on the team? And the new piece is Jamar Stewart.
Yeah, and the pass rush has been the problem for the Bengals the last couple of years, which is
it's been a one-man show. If you can get two guys in that situation, then maybe you'd be cooking with something.
And Logan Wilson, they didn't blitz a lot yesterday. He got left late. I think he passed the concussion protocol and all that stuff. I think that news came out earlier today. So he's fine. The Bengals will have him ready to go as far as that goes against Jacksonville. But, man, what I'm saying is, yes, you got to feel good about the win. But, I thought playing starters in preseason was going to help the Bengals offense. Because that's really where I'm going to next with this. I think it's, there's no need to overreact and panic about Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. But, man, Kev, yesterday, if you take a look at kind of what happened here, Jamar Chase, 2 catches, 26 yards. You look at T. Higgins, 3 catches, 33 yards. Joe Burrow in the offense in the fourth quarter, minus 18. They had negative 18 yards total in that fourth quarter. What?
7 in the whole second half.
There's really no excuse for that. I don't think that that's a preseason issue. I used to say it's because Joe Burrow's been hurt and just not in rhythm, in camp over the last couple of years. I think we need to stop blaming Zach Taylor. There has to be some accountability. These guys, they have to go out there and perform. I don't think Zach Taylor did anything different than what he is going to be doing 4 weeks from now when they take off like they always do. I think at some point, Joe Burrow, you got to be ready to play. And it seems like he's just never ready to play week one. I used to give him a little bit of a pass because the injuries, you're coming back from injuries. You got to get that rhythm going. There's really no excuse for what we saw yesterday. I don't care that it's week one. Josh Allen didn't get off to a slow start. Lamar Jackson didn't get off to a slow start. Justin Herbert. All right. the bottom.
Justin Fields.
Aaron Rodgers, who's 55 years old. Joe Flacco is 55 years old. Like, at some point, Bengals fans, it's okay to say, yeah, Joe, you got to be better. Like, what was that? Like, I don't expect that moving forward, but why do you get that at all? You don't get that from anybody else in week one. Why is it always Joe Burrow who's just like, is he too cool for school? Like, yeah, I guess, I got to go to work now. Like, I don't get it. It's really annoying at the end of the day, and it should be to Bengals fans.
I want to agree with you, but I just think that it's the Browns. I think it's the Browns. Just matchups are a thing. Like, certain teams that have a certain matchup causes teams problems. Like, the Raiders always cause Kansas City problems for, the style of defense that they play. For whatever reason, the Raiders could go up against the Steelers and give up a bazillion yards, but go up against Kansas City and they shut them down. So it's the matchup. And I mean, in the flip side of that, the Bengals seem to always scorch the Pittsburgh Steelers because of their defensive style. But like the defensive style of the Cleveland Browns, the 4-man front, the Texas twist and stuff like that, good secondary play, especially from Denzel Ward, a guy that can actually follow either Jamar or, T. Higgins across the field and basically take them out the game. I think you need to give more credit to the Cleveland Browns and what they're able to do, because they've been able to show that, hey, man, we've been able to slow this team down in whatever iteration they are. If it was the iteration that went to the Super Bowl, this iteration that we just saw yesterday, I think a lot more credit needs to go to the Cleveland Browns and their defense of what they're able to do, because you're right. Like, once the Bengals get clicking versus everybody else, they smoke everybody else. I mean, even though when they were winning games last year, they didn't smoke the Cleveland Browns offensively. They won the game handily, but it wasn't like the offensive show that they put on other teams. I think it's really about the Cleveland Browns scheme that caused so much problems for the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday.
Yes, to that. If it was week 3, I'd be all in on that with you. But I think because it's week 1, it's like every year Joe Burrow, there's an excuse for why Joe Burrow's not looking good in week 1. And everyone wants to blame Zach Taylor right away. And I'm like, man, but that was collectively bad yesterday. Nobody showed up. Nobody showed up as far as that goes, but they came away with the win, man. Like, that's all that matters. Like Randy Scott Jr. says, feel good about the win, but it's still the same issues. The O-line is not good, poor tackling, players out of place. If that's the team we got to look forward to all season, fans will be hurting. The Bengals play a tough schedule. They're not, when you play good teams, and I think Cleveland's better than advertised, as everyone, I've been making that point. And I think we saw that yesterday. Cleveland's better than all of you were trying to tell me that they were. I don't know what award I win for that, but I'm just saying, like, you're not going to go up against a lot of teams that their wide receivers in crunch time are going to drop wide open passes. You can't count on receivers, basically ricocheting the ball into the air who are wide open, and then having your secondary recover and make the interception and act like you physically took it away and schemed it away from them. You're not going to get lucky every single week. So we have to see major strides for them against Jacksonville coming up. And, we'll see. What'd you think of Trevor Lawrence yesterday?
I mean,
not him as a quarterback, just yesterday.
I mean, what Brian Robinson Jr., 1 catch for 11 yards. Travis Hunter, like 5 catches for like 15 yards. I mean, these are wide receivers, not check down Charlie running backs out the backfield. So it seems like we're starting all over from scratch with Trevor Lawrence yet again. Like, it's like, all right, well, we're going to break everything down. We're going to be a more run-based team so you can get your feet wet and stuff like that. But this is like the 3rd iteration of that. Yep. So wide receivers are supposed to be explosive playmakers, not check down Charlies. And that's all it seemed like they were doing, was checking down.
Well, I will say this is why, if you're Cincinnati, you should be concerned as well, is because Cleveland, it's not like they were beating them 20 yards down the field either. There was a lot of check down stuff yesterday, and they had their way against Cincinnati as far as that goes. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence in the obviously Jaguars is up next against your Cincinnati Bengals. They won yesterday against Carolina 26-10. Trevor Lawrence completed 19 to 31 passes, only 178 yards. He averaged 5.7 yards a pass, to your point.
Because it's not about the yards as a total for me. It's like, hey man, like you're not even attempting downfield. You're not even attempting the long ball. And those long balls don't necessarily need to be connected, but it needs to be a threat to say, hey, I will throw this ball, because it makes it easier for the DBs to squat on these routes to say, like, all right, I'm going to just tackle everything in front of you because you're not throwing deep. So it's one game. Don't want to be panicking or anything like that. It's one game, but Like that's something maybe you're going to set up a double move later on, but like it was a lot of smoke screens to Travis Hunter. It just wasn't anything like explosive.
Yeah, Travis Hunter yesterday, 8 targets, 6 catches, 33 yards. Nothing spectacular, nothing, popping off the page or anything like that or off the field, but, go out there, get acclimated.
Wins a win.
In the run game for the Jaguars yesterday, again, Travis Etienne, 16 carries, 143 yards, averaged almost 9 yards a carry. So we'll see.
Now that's, now we talking.
That's that, the chunk play right there. But Roger says, moral victory Monday for you, Kenner. No moral victory. They didn't win anything, but, is what it is. Let's see. Continue to go down the list. Brian Weaver. Brian says, Joe and Jamar were arguably the best duo in the NFL last year. If Joe would have had a decent defense last year, he wins the MVP. Jamar wins the Triple Crown last year, all with the same slow start. One game doesn't define a season. Relax, Bengals fans. Don't worry about the offense. Defense could doom the team just like last year. As far as that goes. Yeah, and like I said, by the way, there's 2 different narratives to pull from for the offense yesterday. No one's and I get it because we've seen this movie before. Oh, the Bengals are bad offensively in week 1. We've seen that movie. We know how it ends. They'll be the most explosive offense in the NFL by week 17. Then there's the second part of the narrative of, but why?
Right.
But why? Is it matchup based? Yes, but it was also the defense that was bad at times yesterday too. You let Joe Flacco pick you apart. You let Cleveland move the ball at ease. There was a lot of things that happened yesterday that should be frustrating. We'll see because now the season's rolling. We're on to week 2.
We're here, baby.
We're week 4 high school football, week 3 college football. I mean, it's hard to keep up with everything as far as that goes. So, who knows how this is going to go when it's all said and done. But whenever they come back, week 2, again, then we're going to say, well, it's only 2 weeks into the season. But I'm curious to see what pattern of some of the good, although there wasn't much good yesterday other than stopping the run. If that's 2 weeks in a row, especially after Travis Etienne just put 143 yards up, averaging 9 yards a carry, if he just is shut out and disappears against the Bengals defense, okay, now we're starting to notice Bengals defense against the run. That might be a new layer of an identity added to the defense. I still think they're very weak secondary and against the pass, but that's going to be something I'm keeping an eye on for the Bengals moving forward as far as that goes. Cleveland, man, are they that bad at running the football? I like Sampson. Quinshon Judkins should be back against Baltimore, but how much can you truly expect from him? And by the way, I'm over the Ford, experiment as far as that goes. I would just go with all the rookie running backs at this point if you're Cleveland. But another thing too for Cleveland, I am going to be following this. If you lose to Baltimore, you play a tough stretch coming up.
Yeah,
I don't care how good Joe Flacco looks. At a certain point, I'm not doing the media thing of forcing the narrative on this, but if it does seem like it's going in a direction where playoffs are not even close to being a possibility for this team, I don't see the point. No matter how good Joe Flacco looks, I just don't see the point of continuing to roll him out there. I'd sit back, keep an eye on the league, wait for a starter to go down, take advantage of that opportunity, and send Flacco there and get a draft pick back as soon as possible. I'm not wishing injury on anyone out there, but it's going to happen. You look at the Rams, Matthew Stafford, he looked good yesterday, but we also know he's playing with the bad back. If the Rams get to a point where that's become a question mark, Joe Flacco's proven he could play still. Did it yesterday. I would be taking a look at that if you're Cleveland. But I love what I saw from Schlesinger. I love what I saw from Cedric Tillman. Love what I saw from Sampson. Quinshon's going to be back. Yeah, I think Cleveland's going to be just fine, big picture. But this season, I don't know, 7 wins.
Long season ago.
7 wins.
But it's a delicate dance. It's a delicate dance because when you're in a situation that the Cleveland Browns are in, it's bigger than, saying football and stuff like that. You're trying to get a new stadium.
Yeah.
And you're trying to prove a lot of things to a lot of people that sign checks and everything like that. And if you basically wave the white flag 2 weeks or 3 weeks into the season, that's going to say people are going to stop coming through those turnstops at that stadium. That means no more $10 beers, no more $15 hot dogs. There's a lot of money that goes into these games and generated for that franchise with the simple effort of trying to win games. Because yes, no moral victories, but if you're continuing to lose games like this, say they're 0-8 and every game plays out kind of like this. They keep losing by a point here, a point here, a point there, 2 points there. Oh man, if this would have went away.
It's like that 16.
Yeah. it would have been like, oh man, like man, we're this close, we're this close, we're this close, we're this close. If this goes our way, like it keeps the fan base engaged. But if you basically say, like, hey man, the guy that's helping you stay in these games, the quarterback, you ship him out and you're throwing the rookie, then the fan base will show up for like the first one to see what the rookie does. If the rookie plays like a rookie, then they're gonna be out.
You talking about our fan base like we're the Bengals fans?
Hey man,
we don't need Joe Burrow to be drafted
I only lived
to be
there,
a fan of our
only
team.
lived there 18 years of my life. This is only my hometown.
Cleveland fans show up no matter what. We enjoy bad football. It's the only thing we've known. Now, it's not like the Bengals where they needed Joe Burrow to decide to care about their football team. Just saying our games will get blacked out because we didn't go to our games. You know the narrative. You know how all that works, but nonetheless. Keith Tolliver says Browns blew a great chance for a win. Next chance probably a month and a half away. Shake my head. He says Tillman is the definition of inconsistent as far as that goes. Again, the drops really make my argument, void to a certain point, but I like Tillman. I do. I'm a big Tillman fan. Like those drops, yes, that needs to be fixed, no doubt. But that's the problem. Is that's all the people are going to remember from yesterday. Yeah. Is that and same thing with Harold Fannin Jr. Because I mean that kid was unbelievable yesterday, and he definitely showed out in that Browns loss. Again, the Bengals come away with a 1-0 start to the season, 17-16 the final. Jerry Jeudy yesterday for the Browns, 5 catches, 66 yards. 2 big drops. Dylan Sampson, 8 catches for 64 yards out of the backfield. Harold Fannin, 7 catches, 63 yards in the pass game for Cleveland. And then Cedric Tillman, 5 catches for 52 and a touchdown, average 10 yards a catch. But definitely offense balanced, well spread out as far as that goes. We'll see what happens heading into week 2 against Baltimore. All right. We'll get back into more of this coming up later on. High school football took place over the weekend as well. So that's what we're going to dive into on the other side. 937-518-1410. We'll take your calls on the Browns and the Bengals. The Buckeyes, we'll get to that coming up. It's really not a breakdown of what happened against Grambling, but just the overall approach from Ohio State and, of course, the updated AP Top 25. Ohio State has big matchups looming, but not Penn State up next. It could potentially be Illinois. Illinois cracked the top 10. We'll talk about the AP top 10
Good
around
win
the corner
for
as
Illinois.
well. Yep. All right. Week 3 of high school football is in the books. We turn our attention towards week 4 here later this week, but there was a lot of great performances from individuals around the Miami Valley. We'll highlight our top 5 individual performers in week 3 of the high school football season when we come back. Piqua is on there. Tippecanoe is well represented. Miami's got a lot of really good players on this list that had big weeks in week 3. We'll talk about that when we come back. All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner with you here, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We are off and rolling here on a Monday. Of course, we talked all things Browns-Bengals to open up a very boring week one opener. Well, exciting, but low scoring, 17-16 the final there. Bengals over the Browns. Bengals with all of their close game losses last year, they finally come out on top. And, there's one narrative that's floating around that I see a lot on social media. The Bengals lose that game a year ago. They found a way to win yesterday. Doesn't matter. 1-0. And now they turn their attention towards Jacksonville. Keep in mind, Cincinnati opens up the first month of the season, Kev, 3 of the first 4 games on the road. So
really?
At Cleveland, home versus Jacksonville, and then they're at Minnesota and at Denver. And all of a sudden that Denver game just doesn't look as, scary. If you will.
Defense was still good with Denver. You know who else was played by drop passes? The Titans. Oh, man. You want to talk about Jerry Jeudy dropping passes. Calvin Ridley, stone hands too. Oh, my goodness. You expect that from like some of the rookie receivers that they're breaking in with, Cam Ward, but you don't expect that from Calvin Ridley as well.
They must have been approaching his over.
You're believing the rumors, eh?
You never know, but nonetheless. All right. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, Dayton's ESPN Radio. Week 3 of the high school football season has officially come and gone. It's kind of crazy. We're 30% of the way through the high school football season.
You're good.
And makes it easy, as far as that goes. But how about this? So our game of the week was Trotwood, Springfield at Trotwood this past Friday night. Trotwood holds off Springfield for a 16-13 final. Heck of a game. Not high scoring. It's kind of like the game we just talked about, Browns-Bengals, but it was a heck of a game. But Springfield loses 16-13. Trotwood is 3-0. Springfield's 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
Very rough start to the season for the GWAC. In fact, not one GWAC team won over the weekend.
Are you serious?
Not one GWAC team won.
Is that mathematically possible?
No one played one another. But yeah, Wayne lost to St. Edwards. All right. Beaver Creek lost. Centerville, Fairmont, Springboro all lost. Miamisburg, Springfield, Northmont all lost. Yeah. There are 3. There's in the GWAC, the Greater Western Ohio Conference. 4 teams are 0-3. Wow. And those teams are, and by the way, this is the 4 teams I'm about to read. This is usually the standings in reverse order. Centerville, Springfield, Fairmont, Northmont, all 0-3. And I'm telling you, Fairmont might be the best 0-3 team in the country.
Wow.
That sounds ridiculous, but you know what I mean. In the division, conference, whatever. Fairmont, they haven't got blown out once. I mean, they're right there. But they keep losing close game after close game after close game. So they lose. This is what Fairmont's been dealing with even since week 1 when they lost to Alter. But they lost week 1, 28-21, and they lose by 7. But that was one of those where there's a Scoop and Sawyer play with 40 seconds to go. They had the lead. They lose 22-21 to Trotwood in week 2, and then they lose by 1 again, 24-23 last week. And then they got to go to Centerville now. But I don't know how many times you've had Fairmont and Centerville play in a battle of
0-3s.
0-3s.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on as far as that goes. But all right, for those watching live, we're highlighting again some of the top individual performances from over the weekend. All right. And so we release this every Monday. There's way more than 5 great individual performances, and there's way more individual performances outside of just football, by the way. So keep that in mind. There is a chance if you head to wingam.com, you could submit, you could highlight a player in the Miami Valley that you want us to give attention to on the show. So anyone that's not on this top 5 list that you think should be, head to wingam.com and, of course, enter that there. And we'll make sure we highlight those individuals throughout the week here on the show throughout. But so here's what we've pulled together as far as week 3 and the high school football is concerned. We'll start at number 5, Kev.
Five.
Now, Wayne has had a tough go of it, as we were talking about a little bit ago. Wayne, obviously, they've played a very tough non-conference schedule. They just played St. Ed's this past Friday. But, Wayne, they're not 0-3, but they are 1-2. But they lost 63-27 on Friday. I mean, St. Ed's obviously no joke.
Yeah.
And they got to see that firsthand. But Wayne's quarterback has had a heck of a start to the season, despite the fact that the team hasn't been able to come away with wins. Kai Graham, Kev, completed 24 of his 36 pass attempts for 321 yards and 4 touchdowns. How many quarterbacks could throw for 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, and lose? That's like Joe Burrow stuff from last year, right? So Kai Graham for the Wayne Warriors coming in at number 5. Number 4, quarterback for the Tippecanoe Red Devils. We'll talk about Tip coming up here more in a moment, but their quarterback is Larkin Thomas. He completed 17 of his 21 pass attempts for 275 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now
these kids is out here throwing what they call dots because these percentages are crazy.
And by the way, they beat Fairborn 55-77. They beat, I mean, Fairborn has rolled the first 2 weeks, and they got rolled by Tip this past Friday night.
Fighting Mark Niels.
Yes, absolutely. So Tippecanoe, again, Larkin Thomas coming in at number 4. Xenia Buccaneers, their running back, Deontay White, he rushed for 204 yards, and 2 touchdowns in Xenia's win, 20-0 over Butler. 200 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. And again, that wasn't high scoring. Some of these other games have been high scoring, 20-0. They shut him out, but he was responsible for 2 of the 3 touchdowns.
Corey Dillon style, carrying it 36 times.
Absolutely. Number 2 on the list. Now, we highlighted at number 4, Red Devils quarterback Larkin Thomas. He threw for 275 yards and 5 touchdowns. Well, he had to be throwing the ball to somebody. And the somebody he was throwing to is the individual that I highlighted on the Buckeye Roundtable later on tonight. We'll be talking about this individual on the Buckeye Roundtable coming up. Tippecanoe Red Devils wide receiver, Will Strong. 171 total yards on 9 catches and 4 touchdowns. Tip beat Fairborn 55-7, of course, but the connection between him and Red Devils quarterback Larkin Thomas, the kid's unbelievable. He's gonna, he's. I mean, like I said, and he's been doing this. I think he's averaging like 115 yards a game 3 weeks in.
Who do you think he is, Randy Moss?
So, yeah, not bad.
It's awesome.
And then coming in at number 1 on this list. Right here, Piqua took care of business against Greenville 50-7 over the weekend. They were led by their star running back with 17 carries for 139 yards, Debo Nisley. My favorite name, one of my favorite names in the area, by the way. Piqua running back Debo Nisley, 17 carries, 139 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Piqua's win over Greenville 50-7.
Debo coming. Who? Debo.
So there you go. Those are our top 5 individual performers. If you want to, of course, submit names for other great performances that we may have missed, by all means, please do so. Enter that at wingam.com, and we'll highlight those individuals on the show throughout the week. So go and do that now, wingam.com. But yes, I saw Ron. Ron brought up that Tip is off to a very good start. They're undefeated over in, of course, the Miami Valley League, and they're the only undefeated team in that conference right now. Kev, they've scored, let's see, what is this? 21-0 in week 1. They won 40-7 in week 2 and 55-7 in week 3. They've only given up 14 points in 3 weeks.
Defense wins championships.
Yep, they don't have a Bengals defensive problem. That's for sure. No doubt about it. Other scores from over the weekend: Chaminade Julienne, they get dropped by Taft 56-7. Baden beats Edgewood 32-18. Fenwick over Franklin 24-17. Alter, they get back in the win column, 2-1 on the season with a 35-0 shutout win over Linton Stockton. That's one of a top team out of Indiana. That they just went over and took care of. Ironton 29, McNicholas 7, and then Carroll beats Ponitz 18-12. GCL action right there. As far as the Greater Western Ohio Conference is concerned, as I mentioned, Kev, again, everyone in the GWalk lost. Withrow beat Northmont 42-0. Trotwood over Springfield, that was our game of the week. Hilliard-Davidson shut out Miamisburg 10-0. Elder over Springboro 21-7. LaSalle over Fairmont 24-23. Carmel, Indiana shut out Centerville 48-0. Harrison over Beaver Creek 28-21, and St. Ed's 63-27. They take care of business over Wayne. So there's that. As far as the Miami Valley League is concerned, more finals there. Stebbins over Sydney, 42-7. Tippecanoe 55, Fairborn 7, as we highlighted a little bit ago. Piqua 50, Greenville 7. Xenia 20-0 shutout win over Butler, and Troy shuts out West Carrollton 46-0. West Carrollton, they've been shut out the last 2 weeks. They've been outscored 76-0 over the last 2 weeks. So they've had a rough go of it.
Keep fighting, kids. Keep
this
fighting.
Season. And then continuing to go down this, I think, the Southwest Buckeye League, some final scores there. Fenwick over Franklin, 24-17. Wyoming takes care of Monroe, 34-27. Valley View over Bellbrook, 31-14. Ross over Northwest, 28-21. Brookville over Northridge, 42-15. Carlisle over Bethel, 43-19. And Oakwood beats Milton Union, 48-6. And those are some of your final scores from week 3 right here in the Miami Valley. By the way, if you on Friday nights when you're out at these games and you want a live up to the minute score update, head to wingam.com and click on the high school football scoreboard. Live up to the minute score updates on every game in the Miami Valley. I know a lot of people, when we're giving our score updates during our game of the week, we're using that tool right there. So make sure you go and check that out. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Kev Nash with us here on a Monday, 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. All right. Browns Bengals, we talked a lot about that. We highlighted some of our top individual performers in week 3 of the high school football season here in the Miami Valley. We of course shared with you our top 5 individual performers. You can nominate any top performer, any athlete that you'd like in the Miami Valley. If you're at a game and you loved the performance of one of your kids' teammates or your teammate, whatever, you can go and nominate them at wingam.com, and we'll highlight all of those performers on the show throughout the week. But
another cool thing about it, obviously, we kind of focus on football, but there's so many other fall sports out there, cross country, they got field hockey, so many other sports out there. So we want to hear from all the athletes in the Miami Valley.
And the high school football scoreboard feature earlier, we call it the high school football scoreboard feature, but it's all sports. It's soccer, it's volleyball, basketball, everything. So also take advantage of it for that. It's the high school football scoreboard. High school scoreboard is technically what it's called, but we call it high school football just because it's high school football when we use it. But use it for any of the sports, I guess, to sum it up. Okay. Week 1 of the NFL. By the way, did it look like week 1 of the NFL? A lot of sloppiness.
Some games did, some games didn't. Yes, it did. To answer your question directly, yes, it did look like week 1 because our expectations is built off of the history of the athlete and the history of a Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is, oh man, this is explosive offense. They weren't explosive. Was it week 1? Was it the Bengals? The history of a Jalen Ramsey, a TJ Watt, a Cam Hayward is, oh man, these dudes are awesome on defense. They got shredded by the Ravens. Oh man, the Baltimore Ravens, they have all these outstanding players, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith. They got shredded in the fourth quarter by the Buffalo Bills. So it's a lot of week 1, but week 2 and week 3 after that, I think we're going to say, all right, that's who you are. If you continue to play like that, poorly on defense or poorly on offense, by week 3, if you're still doing that, you're stamped. You're stamped. That's who you're going to be this season.
Which team are you the most disappointed in? Which fan base? Because I don't think anyone disappoints me outside of my own team. Which team did you say, oh wow, that team's a mess? That's a problem right there. There was a handful of them.
So definitely a handful, but the first thing that comes to mind is the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I know there's 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. But if you have that lead in the fourth quarter, you should be able, and you're a running team as well. You're a 50-50 team, but you're more known for your physical run game, not only from Derrick Henry, but also Lamar Jackson. I mean, if you score 40 points, you should probably win. You scored 40 points and you lost. This is crazy. Be it that Harbaugh is a great coach, I don't think that that's going to derail them and, send them over the edge and just tailspin them into a terrible season. But like, when I look at it, I look like, wow, that's bad. But the second team would be the Detroit Lions. I know we got some Detroit Lion fans in our own building, Detroit fans, listeners to the station. But I mean, I said this going into the season, I'm not sure about the Detroit Lions with them losing both their offense and defensive coordinator and them coming into this new situation. I know they hire within the program and everything like that, but like what we saw out of them in Green Bay was like kind of eye-popping for me. I know I had the Ravens and Green Bay meeting in the Super Bowl, but I didn't expect Green Bay to look that good versus the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that I'm just like scratching my head as far as like what we saw. The Lions easily have to be there at the top of the list. Didn't have the Ravens, but that's something to keep an eye on moving forward because it's a pattern that's followed them for many, many seasons. I'm not saying there's no shame in losing to Josh Allen, but it's just, again, you're right though. Like when you have Derrick Henry and you have a lead in the fourth quarter, there's no reason why you should not be milking that clock, especially with the way that Derrick Henry dominated that football game. It's
right.
It's kind of wild that 2 AFC North teams lost a game yesterday that had no business losing either of those games. But Josh Allen and the Bills come out on top there. I think that the team that was most alarming to me is the Miami Dolphins. I think that the Dolphins, when you have Tua, who got paid, you have Tyreek Hill, and you have Mike McDaniels, who was for a very short amount of time was like the
it guy.
That was the it guy. Like, he doesn't look like an NFL coach. He doesn't look like an alpha male. Like, he's just this, geeky, scrawny guy that's just, outsmarting the rest of the NFL. He's not outsmarting anybody anymore. And that new the novelty toy type of vibe with the Dolphins, that vibe's kind of gone now. I think that they're in danger of having to blow everything up. Like everything from Mike McDaniels to really looking at Tua hard and figuring out, is this a Tua problem or is he letting us down? Or are we letting him down? I know it's a combination of a lot, I'm sure. But Tyreek Hill, I saw something today that it's been 365 days since he has made a play of 20 yards or more.
Crazy.
Was it 20 or 30?
30. 30. It was 30. Yeah, I saw
and
the
he
same
was
thing.
like the big play guy. Like, you talked about those big plays that it's categorized as anything 20 yards or more. That's considered a big play on the stats or whatever. But yeah, it's been 365 days since he has been a part of a play that's 30 yards or more. And he was the explosive player in the league for a while. I don't know if he's lost his step. I don't think it's a him problem as much as it is a team problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a team problem. So I was unaware of everything that was going on wrong with the Miami Dolphins. Like going into the season, you kind of like get into your own bubble and you focus on your team and, the AFC North and stuff like that. So I was unaware. So I'm making, my picks and stuff like that, getting everything situated with, DraftKings and FanDuel. And I make this dumb bet every single week. It's basically throwing money away, but I bet every single game of the week and I put $1 on it. Sometimes it says, hey man, you go win $100, $1,000, $50 or whatever. And everything is going good. Every team that I picked in the 1 o'clock window at that point in time that I looked was winning, except the Miami Dolphins. And not only weren't they winning, they weren't down 3, they weren't down a touchdown, they weren't down 14. They were getting smoked like a pack of Newports, bro. It was over. It was over. And I'm like, so I wasn't watching the game, so I had no idea what was going on. I guess there were turnovers. There's just 3 and outs. I guess, Daniel Jones just turned into freaking John Elway. I don't know, but it was all bad. And kudos to Daniel Jones. I know they were playing the Colts and stuff like that. They're playing for their former owner and Irsay, who passed away over the summer. So it's a great win for their organization. But I think the talk of the town is like, oh man, they're definitely going to blow it up. They're gonna be shipping dudes out left and right. They already shipped out Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who knows what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill and Waddle? Like everybody's about to do that if you keep playing like that.
Yeah, if you're a team that's in need of a wide receiver, I think there's going to be some potential options there. The problem with them is, like, you talk about Deshaun's. Well, when you look at Tua, where are you at with your assessment on Tua?
Never been high on Tua.
Outside of Cleveland's problem with the contract for Deshaun, are they number 2 as far as the worst quarterback contract in the league? Like, he's not the worst quarterback in the league, but they're handicapped because no one will take that. No one's going to reach out to take him with that contract that he has, because it was just a year ago he became paid.
Wow, that's a good question.
Like, I don't think you can move off that easily at all. No one's going to take Deshaun, obviously. No one's going to take Tua. Even teams who need him, even teams who need quarterbacks, I don't think.
So if you remove the bad play, because there's been tons of bad play. I mean, Dak hasn't played great before, but he still cashed out. Trevor Lawrence hasn't played extendedly well, but he cashed out. So you have to bring up the size element, him being a smaller quarterback, and obviously the concussion situation. So just
untouchable.
So on top of my head, I don't think so. I don't think there's a worse quarterback situation. I mean, and to the Browns situation, I mean, there isn't a Deshaun situation, because guess what? He's not playing. He's not playing this season. So, like, yeah, the money's there, but guess what? They got 30 quarterbacks on the roster. The Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins, they have Tua and they have Quinn Ewers on their roster as the quarterbacks. Another small quarterback.
See, this is why Denver got so lucky 2 years ago. Like, Denver got lucky because in the follow-up year after, so when they gave Russell Wilson that contract, he came back. And obviously he had a very solid season for Denver and showed that he could still play. So it made him, very attractive to teams out there. It's why your team ended up with him. But Denver was able to move on from him, and he showed just enough glimpses of being good enough to make it worth it to go take it on. Now, Denver ate some of that money too, and that's what Miami would have to do, Cleveland would have to do. But Deshaun's not good enough to move on from. And Tua, although there's something there, it's still not enough. And you add in the concussion worries, of course, and I forgot about that part too. Yeah, it almost makes him untouchable as far as that goes. So this conversation started, who was Which team did you watch yesterday and say, my goodness, like I am the most concerned about that team? Forrest on YouTube says, Cleveland. This isn't the Browns homer in me. That Cleveland losing was shocking. Yes, the way that they lost, but there was a lot more good for Cleveland. Like I think Browns fans feel better about the team today than what we thought heading into that game, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him on that list.
Yeah, I wouldn't
loss.
put him on that list. It's a bad loss, obviously, but like, no, there's like, all right, man, dudes miss kicks all the time in this league. And I mean, you rolled out there with a rookie kicker. He missed the extra point. He missed a field goal. You hit either of those, you win the football game. The Dolphins weren't in the game at all.
Yep. And
they got a lot of high price ticket items on their team. Like the high price ticket guys on the Browns balled out. Myles Garrett balled out. Denzel Ward balled out. Waddle didn't ball out. Tariq Hill didn't ball out. Tua didn't ball out. They got blown out.
Yeah. Another team I'd be concerned about too is just the Panthers. Like they just run in place. They're just bad. Like they're not showing any signs. Like that was another one too, where like, especially last year heading into this season, heading into this season, it was the first like drama-free offseason. There was no concern about, Young took off towards the tail end of last year. It felt like they were trending in the right direction, but 18 of 35 for 154 yards and 2 picks yesterday. Just not a good showing from him. It just seems like the Panthers as well. Like they're just kind of, running in place at this point as well. So,
yeah, I will also look at the Seahawks too. And not like for their performance. I mean, they lost the game by 4 to the 49ers, but like everybody's looking at the 49ers and looking at Brock Purdy to see if he can perform with the removal of weapons and stuff like that from Debo and stuff like that. And McCaffrey didn't play per usual. So like this was the time to go ahead and get the 49ers. Obviously, they signed Sam Darnold to a nice contract. He threw for 150 yards. 124 of them was to JSN, Jackson Smith and J.B., former Buckeye. So, like, nobody else is catching passes. I mean, Cooper Kupp, we all love Cooper Kupp, but he had 2 for 15. 2 for 15. He ain't looking nowhere else. You were worried about Julian saying blind throwing it to Jeremiah Smith. Well, that seems like what our buddy Sam Darnold is doing, just simply throwing it to JSN. So you got to spread the wealth a little bit, man. It can't just be one guy all the time. So I would look at that as well as the Seahawks to be like, all right, man, that's something to worry about offensively. Defensively, I think they're good, but like Sam Darnold and the Seahawks are traveling to Pittsburgh in week 2. And I think the Steelers are going to tweak things on defense to make sure they're better on the run game. So I think the Seahawks are going to start out 0-2.
Yeah, Seattle's a team that I don't get what the franchise was doing. I mean, they prematurely moved on from a lot of guys that I don't think they needed to at that moment. DK Metcalf, who's now a Steeler. All right. You moved on from Geno. I don't really know why you moved on from Geno. You didn't have to marry him long term. I've come across 2 different articles that talked about Geno as like, I would have signed shorter contracts to stay in Seattle. He loves the fact that he's with the Raiders, but he really liked it in Seattle. You in recent years, you drafted Kenneth Walker. You had Noah Fant. You had good weapons in that offense. It complemented for a while, they were waiting for the defense to get right. Now the defense gets right, and now they moved on from all the offensive pieces. And then you paid Sam Darnold big money. I know 35 is not big money, but it's
good money. Would you take it?
Oh no, for him,
I'm joking.
But it becomes a lot of money when you're not getting that type of money's worth of production. And like I said, that should have been a warning. The fact that Minnesota, we're going to see tonight too, by the way, it looks like they've made the right choice, obviously, by moving on from him. It'll look like an even better choice if JJ McCarthy balls out tonight. But even if he doesn't ball out tonight, it still looks like they made the right choice and not, going long term with Sam Darnold. But we'll see what ends up happening. As far as what about Drake May and the Patriots?
That was the next one I was going to say. So you have, and this is also a week 1 thing, but you have a team, we always use this same old cliche. You use the West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. There was a 1 o'clock kick, yada, 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 all the same cliches. But like some of that is a cliche because it's real. The fact that Geno Smith and the Raiders are supposed to be a running team. Like this is Pete Carroll making his return again. I saw a stat where this is his 4th team that he's led to a start of 1-0 that he's won his first game with. Kudos to Coach Pete Carroll. But Geno was throwing that thing yesterday. He was throwing that thing, and we all know about Brock Bowers, the great tight end out of Georgia, but he was letting it go to Jacoby Myers, former Patriot.
Bowers left. He got hurt.
Yeah. But my thing is everybody was waving the flag about the Patriots and being not contending for the AFC East, but like, hey, being that second team in the AFC East behind the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, getting Braves as a coach there and, trying to, we watching them because they got Travion Henderson. He had that big kickoff return. He's been super explosive his entire time at Ohio State. Gonna bring that explosiveness, a 1-2 punch to the backfield out there. They just didn't do anything. They were just running in the mud. So that's another one. Like you look at it and say, all right, hey man, maybe the Raiders are a player here because you look at it with Kansas City already starting out on 1, So hey man, this is week 1. All the conspiracy theories are alive.
All right, Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash. So with that being said, we'll step away. Those are the teams. Which teams alarmed you? Which teams look the most alarming in week 1 of the NFL season? We still got a game tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
By the way, these two teams are potential teams that could be added to that list of teams that are most alarming because, the Bears have put a lot of stock into this build around Caleb Williams. It's just week 1, but this is all we have to go by. I hate when people say, well, you can't, Kinner, you can't react to that. It's week 1. It's all we have to go off of. Like, I know it's only week 1, but as of week 1 game into the 2025 season, Bengals defense still a problem. Offensive line still a problem. The Browns is the Browns still. 1 game is all we have to go off of. Which teams were, most alarming to you? And I think I know the answer to this next question, which we'll pick up with when we come back. Which teams, really impressed you over the weekend? And I'm very, I want to make sure Kev's not too happy over here because he doesn't get to be happy. He doesn't get to be happy. No,
Trust me. I'm not too happy.
I've been higher on your team because of this individual than you have. But
it's true.
We kind of were like that at the beginning for a little bit of Russell Wilson last year too. That ended out about how you would expect. We'll be right back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash.
Get 2 of the #1 bacon cheeseburgers plus
Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports will be on with us tomorrow. Of course, we'll recap college football Saturday, NFL Sunday. Week 1 will officially be in the books after tonight's Monday Night Football matchup, so we'll get to that coming up with him tomorrow. Paul Keels, voice of the Buckeyes, will be on with us on Thursday. He joins us every Thursday to open up the show. We'll talk about the Buckeyes showdown with Ohio coming up this Saturday night, just what everyone wants, the Bobcats under the lights. However, the Bobcats, played Rutgers tough. They just beat West Virginia. We stayed downtown Columbus for the Buckeye game over the weekend, and when we got there, we were struggling to be able to find parking and be able to get to where the just to park at the hotel. But there was just bus after bus after bus outside the hotel, and it was all West Virginia players coming down. I'm like, why the heck are in Columbus? I would have much rather seen Ohio State play West Virginia than Grambling. I mean, my goodness, 70-0. But they had to stay in Columbus because there's nowhere to stay for Ohio when you go over there.
Wow.
Really? Yeah. They couldn't find anywhere to stay over there. They schedule these things well in advance.
Really?
To not be able to find any hotels. Yeah. I find that kind of weird.
Very.
But yeah, they had to stay unless they didn't find one that was nice enough for, West Virginia. I don't know. But
so wait. West Virginia play at Ohio?
Yeah.
In Athens?
Yeah.
Isn't it quicker to get from Morgantown, West Virginia to Athens than it is? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, because I kept trying to figure out, I didn't even know the schedule for who they were playing. I'm like, why are they in Columbus? Who's the closest around there? And I was like, I wasn't expecting to hear that they were playing at Ohio on top of that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I totally missed that. I saw that they lost to them on the ticker, but I didn't know it was at.
Yeah, pretty exciting. I mean, that's a big. You don't see matchups like that. You don't see that too often. So that's why that was why it was a bummer for a lot of Miami fans when UC went to the Big 12. You don't get that Miami of Ohio versus UC showdown anymore. They don't do that anymore. But imagine the Big 12, Cincinnati, UC going to, with the way they play though anymore. Might as well. I mean, but they they beat Bowling Green in a very boring game over the weekend, but they held them off. But the MAC, every year they do this, though. I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, the MAC is never a conference that's going to get that love for the playoff or anything like that, but they can hang around. I don't expect them to hang around with Ohio State on Saturday, but I mean, it's a program that's going to put up way more resistance than what we saw this past weekend. And that's no shot at Grambling as far as them as a program, but I just mean in a head-to-head with Ohio State. My goodness. I mean, Byers and I, when we opened the show on Sunday, the first 10 minutes recapping college football Saturday was our thoughts on the bands. That just tells you that was not a football game over the weekend. But.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't. So I did a quick Google. So it's 3 hours and 9 minutes from Morgantown, West Virginia to Columbus, Ohio, but 2 hours and 48 minutes from Morgantown, West Virginia to Athens, Ohio.
That's what Shaw just said in the chat. He goes, why would West Virginia jump? No, I'm not joking. It was West Virginia stayed at the Renaissance. They were at the Renaissance in downtown Columbus.
Wow.
They got the whole police escort out and everything.
Wow.
And I was irritated. I'm like, get the hell out of my way. I'm just trying to park. Couldn't even get into the valet area because they had the buses blocking up all around the building.
So they drove 3 hours to Columbus and then an hour 15 to Athens and then 3 more hours back to West Virginia. That's a lot of driving, bro.
I mean, that's why when people talk about all these schools don't have enough money for it's because you spend it silly. You just do silly. I wonder how much Ohio paid them to go play there. Did you know? I didn't know this. Talking about this with Byers, I know you pay Grambling got $1 million to go play there, but I didn't know Ohio State you still pay Texas.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
They do a gate split. Majority of it still goes to the home school or whatever. It's kind of whatever you kind of negotiate or whatever.
It just seems silly because the next year, you almost all right, you give us, let's just say you give us 1.5 million and we'll give you 1.5 million next year. It's how about everyone just keep their own 1.5 million and we all just go on with our day and just do this because, hey, we need a competitive game on our schedule. How about that?
Cough up the big bucks.
Doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
someone has to make more than the other, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously somebody's gonna make more than the other. I would imagine
because it's a night game and you get more for night games.
It might be more. Texas probably gonna make more than Ohio State does because our stadium's bigger.
because they're
Ohio State Stadium is bigger than Texas Stadium.
So you said Ohio State will. Oh, you're saying they'll make more because they'll get more of the Yeah.
Well, it really all depends on like whatever the ADs and all the money makers and shakers work out with the TV networks and yada, yada, yada. But I'm just glad matchups like that still happen, man. Because all due respect to Grambling, that was not a game. Like it was over before it was over. And the coolest part, or not the coolest part. Well, yeah, the coolest part is the bands performed together after the game, but it was a rumor on social media that they were going to do a special halftime performance together, which didn't happen. Ohio State band performed, Grambling's band performed, and then after the game, they kind of like did a session together, which that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, they didn't promote that, or if they did, we didn't see it. We would have stayed after. We left beginning of the fourth quarter or whatever, coincidentally when alcohol sales stops. But Ohio State went first at halftime too. Usually the away band goes first, and then so that was like a nod to them as well for that. But yeah, some of those are ridiculous. Now again, Paul Keels shared it last week. That was the only team available. Like that's not normally a type of team that you would put on the schedule. They did that with Youngstown State years and years ago. It's just the relationship with Jim Tressel at the time, who was the president over there. So but those games really shouldn't be allowed.
That definitely shouldn't be allowed. I know like LSU, they sometimes play Southern or Grambling. I mean, it's kind of similar to the Ohio State playing Youngstown State. It's in your state. You want to help out a fellow school, give them a huge payday to make sure, their athletic program is taken care of. But it's just like the reality of the situation is this isn't basketball. This is football. Somebody can get seriously injured playing a game like this, and the size and the physicality of a lot of these athletes at these bigger programs playing, at these smaller schools. Like that's just the reality of the situation. I'm glad that apparently everybody got out of safely and everything like that. I know the Florida A&M coach, I forget who they played, and they asked him after the game, like, was it worth it or whatever? It's like, well, we lost 3 quarterbacks and now we have to go play our conference. So I would say no.
Yep. But the school, and that's the other thing too. Again, KB and I, we discussed this yesterday. Like, so Grambling got $1 million, but of that $1 million, you have to use that $1 million to pay for all your team's travel. It's one thing if you're in-state travel, you could just get charter buses and just bus to the game, but now you're paying for flights.
Yeah.
And managers and the coaches and all the players
and the band, because the band is more popular than the football team. Yeah.
So
and people wanted to see the band and like, oh well, we got to bring the band.
So $1 million minus all that, for the travel, for the hotels, for the food, everything. And the other problem is too, these players are going out there and physically just getting demolished. And you're right, like the injuries that will go on to have an impact on their conference schedule, just so the school can make the money. And those players it's not like those players are getting a special stipend of this money too. Like they're the ones that are eating it.
Yeah,
for the higher ups to get all the money.
The players want this because they not only like, hey man, this is cool. I played at Ohio State, I played at Alabama, I played at these places during my time in college. The players want to do this, and for the athletic programs, especially schools like this, they need this infusion of money to keep the other programs going. The coaches, on the other hand, are thinking about like, okay, yeah, the player safety element, because the players 9 times out of 10 are not thinking about their own safety. They're like, man, it's football. I play football. It is what it is. And I want to have this cool experience. So it's the coaches that are normally the ones waving the flag like, hey, man, this probably ain't a good idea. But like you're up against it because guess what? Like we got to fund all these other programs at the school. So it's a tough spot to be in.
Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. We opened up the show. All reaction, of course, to the Browns and the Bengals and what was one of the uglier games of the weekend, but one of the more entertaining, wild finishes. It just doesn't make any sense how Cleveland lost that football game, but then it's Cleveland, so then it makes all the sense in the world how Cleveland lost that football game. I mean, it's pretty wild when you really break this down, how, Cleveland, total as far as total yards goes, completely dominates the Cincinnati Bengals in that regards. I mean, offense and defense completely dominated the Cincinnati Bengals, and yet they lose the game. Special teams, drop catches, drop passes, of course. Joe Flacco, I mean, like literally Joe Flacco was better than Joe Burrow. The receivers, even with all the drop passes, were better than the Bengals wide receivers. The defense for the Browns, better than the Bengals defense, like better than the Bengals. And there's not one thing that the Cincinnati Bengals did better than the Browns yesterday, but they came out on top. So who cares? That's all that matters. It's not college football where style points and, they have the strength of schedule metric where it kind of gives you an out to give, to be more forgivable here and there. There's nothing to forgive. The Browns lost. Doesn't matter. The Bengals last year played better than some of their opponents, but lost. So they were on the opposite end of that a lot last year. But for those watching live right now, I mean, that's the tail of the tape right there. The Browns, every facet of the game, better than the Bengals yesterday. I shouldn't say every facet because special teams, obviously. But that's, name of the game nonetheless. But Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, 937-518-1410. You can tell it's football season because Charlie, who I thought had moved out of Dayton. I thought he moved away. Charlie is on with us live. Charlie, how are we?
Welcome back.
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Well, you sound good. What were you good about? What are you happy about?
I'm not happy about what I watched yesterday. I'll tell you that. Can I first just say real quick about the owner of the Browns? I know people like to trash that guy. He takes home run swings. And after the Deshaun Watson thing, I didn't think that the Browns deserved to have a good quarterback ever again. But after what I watched yesterday, I was just so thankful that you didn't have Baker Mayfield because we would have gotten destroyed, like embarrassed, because the difference in prep between the Browns and the Bengals it's so obvious how much better the Browns are at getting ready to play a game. And they're considered one of the worst teams in the NFL, which I think is absurd because all the injuries they had last year. I was not surprised at the Browns. I don't know how many injuries they had last year, but it was a lot. And if Flacco can stay clean, which he mostly did yesterday, I think the Browns are going to surprise a lot of teams. And if they had Joe Burrow, they'd probably have rings. Because
not yesterday's Joe Burrow.
Well, okay. So the Browns are getting their flowers from me because I was impressed. They deserve better. That hopefully one day they get the guy they want, the quarterback, because Stefanski's awesome. He had the team ready to play. On the other hand, my team, I don't even know what to say. I wish we would have lost because I want Zach Taylor to be fired.
Whew.
That was trash. That was complete trash. The only okay, we got a new coordinator on defense. Our defense for what they're considered, bottom five defense, they showed up. They couldn't get off the field on third down, but for this patchwork team with the new coordinator, Demetrius Knight was all over the field. I thought he looked great for his first game in the league. Our offense, it's not only does it look like they didn't play any preseason games, it looks like they've never practiced. What the hell was that? I know the dog pound's loud, but are you kidding? Why are you taking timeouts? What are we doing? It was I don't know. Marvin Lewis is a better coach than Zach Taylor. All right, write that down. If we had Marvin Lewis, that might have been a decent game. But that was so lousy. I wish so bad we would have lost that game. And Cleveland deserves to win that game. I don't know what the address is to the kicker, but he deserves the game ball for it was almost like Cleveland's hey, you guys are supposed to win a week one game every once in a while, so we're going to give this to you. And we still couldn't do it. Even with that last interception, it's we can't even close this out. Seriously, I thought we were still going to lose that game, even after that. Because it's we can't even manage the clock. We can't even get a first down. Where's Jamar Chase? Where's anybody? It's completely lousy.
Yeah, the situational issues that they had, burning timeouts at inopportune times. And then I thought it was soft play calling down the stretch for Cincinnati where you have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and they ran the ball on second and third down. And it's they weren't even trying to close out that game yesterday. I just thought it was, I mean, they punted and you were supposed to punt. It's 4th down. All I'm saying is I just thought it was soft because they just, in situations where they could have been the aggressor to set the tone, they played scared and nearly gave it away. And they're lucky that they didn't. So I just thought that was a very weird vibe yesterday. And I get what you're saying about Zach Taylor too, but a lot of blame has to be put on Joe Burrow. Because I think that this was the year he doesn't get the excuse. I've, given him the passes in the past because of the injuries or coming off of an injury. But I thought yesterday for a completely 100%, healthy offseason, Jamar and T got taken care of. There was no distractions outside of Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson has nothing to do with the Bengals' slow offensive start. That was just wild to me yesterday.
Yeah, well, and, overall, the criticisms for the Bengals, what we were coming out of last year. So not only Zach Taylor, but Duke Tobin and the Browns ownership, like the Bengals ownership, where it's Duke Tobin. I don't know why he said this, but at the combine, he's like, we don't want to pay more for the same team. And they did. The exact same team. We have no pass rush. The 2 plays that we got rushed on Flacco, that was great. Like, we affected him for 2 plays. Joe Burrow was affected every play because the Browns are better at coaching. You know why? You know why the play calling was soft? Because Zach Taylor's soft. That's why. It's like, dude, watching Zach Taylor play Stefanski is like the beginning of Waterboy, where the coach is so terrified of the other coach. It's crazy. And look, the Browns play everybody tough, and I won't be surprised if the Browns win. If they go to the playoffs, it wouldn't shock me. If Flacco can stay healthy, maybe you trade, and I don't know what you do with Jerry Jeudy, but I mean, that was so pathetic. Like, it was gift wrapped it. Like, I know that they have a good defense. I know that, but it couldn't. The NFL couldn't give them, like, on a silver platter, like, the Browns and the Jaguars and the Vikings with a rookie quarterback. Like, that's how we're starting the season, because last year we also did that, and you blew it. Yeah. And you almost blew it yesterday. And Zach Taylor deserves to be fired. And that's my opinion. They just got out-coached and outplayed yesterday.
Let me ask you this. Like, do you believe in, like, mental blocks and stuff like that? Do you believe in that type of stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I definitely do. And the one thing that I always thought was the reason that Marvin Lewis kept his job for so long is he could always beat Cleveland. He always was pretty good against the Ravens. He could not beat Pittsburgh. But, I mean, nobody could beat Ben Roethlisberger for whatever reason. But Zach Taylor has a losing record against the Browns. He's won 2 out of, 12 games. We have no business winning that game yesterday. I've never in my life seen, like, 2 of this exact same interceptions that are the flukiest interceptions that exist, where you bobble the ball and a guy happens to scoop it up off of you. That doesn't happen. It happened twice. And then the kicker missing. I mean, that's the one Cleveland thing where it's like, of course he missed. Why? No wind. Why would he miss? Because it's Cleveland. Like, that sucks. It was like a curse thing. But
the Browns is the Browns, man. The Browns is the Browns. But Charlie, this is a new Charlie. I mean, when you called, I sat up in my seat. I was ready to throw down. I was ready to go. And then I feel like you're softening me right now just to come in for the blow. I'm not really sure what's happening, but we agree on everything. And all that matters is the Bengals got the win. But I don't think that getting the I don't think that getting the win erases a lot of the problems from yesterday. There was a lot of glaring issues yesterday. I don't think that the defense stopped the Browns. The Browns stopped the Browns. Those interceptions that were thrown were wide open receivers that dropped the ball and bounced in the air. There were fluke interceptions, as you mentioned. And then some of the stops down the stretch, you had Jerry Jeudy drop a wide open pass on the sideline. No one was around him. That's a first down.
Crazy.
Fan and Junior, same thing. Like, there was a lot. Tillman. I mean, there was a lot of drop passes that were wide open. That wasn't, the Bengals coverage took it away. The Browns took it away by dropping it. The Bengals should be concerned because they're going to play teams where receivers aren't going to drop the ball, and that's going to be a different result 10 out of 11 times, no doubt.
Well, just a couple things real quick, and I'll let you go.
Make it quick, 60 seconds.
Cam Taylor-Britt's lost his starting job, in my opinion. And I hate to say that because a couple years ago, I thought he was going to be like an all-pro. He lost his starting job. He should not be starting anymore. And last thing, it's gotten to the point where if Joe Burrow leaves, I'm leaving with him. That's how I feel about the ownership and the management of the Bengals right now. So you all have a good day. Go Brownies. I think they're going to have a great year. They might even go to the playoffs. I'll talk to you guys later.
Later.
Man, Charlie, it was great hearing from you. I like Charlie. Charlie's always been a great caller. He actually has always been a great caller. But usually we argue. Usually we throw down a little bit. But
not today. You guys are
shocked that
hook, line, and sinker.
Like I said, yes, winning cures everything, but it does. Winning it doesn't eliminate the problems. And the Bengals, they should have lost that game yesterday. There's not one thing that they did better than the Browns yesterday, outside of if special teams in that category there. But they got as bad as Bengals fans told me the Browns were. They got dominated by that bad team. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, it doesn't matter. We came out on top, and you did. But I'm not going to sit here and deal with all the Bengals defense. They shut the Browns down. No, the passes that were dropped, they were wide open. Those extend those drives. The Browns beat the Browns. The Browns defense, and special teams, the Browns missed those kicks. They missed the extra point. They missed the field goal. That's the Browns getting in their own way. It's what the Browns do. That's why it's so gut-wrenching. It's so heartbreaking. But no, celebrate the win. But you have Trey Hendrickson running around the field, mocking the fans and doing the little crying thing with his hands after he cried all offseason about a contract that he agreed to. I just thought that was kind of rich. Unlike him, who's poor, he didn't get his contract extension. Only $30 million for 1 year. The poor guy. I hope T's and P's. Nonetheless, Bob Love, how are you, sir? It's been a while.
Hey. Sometimes I'm ashamed to be a Bengal fan. You don't apologize. Did the Browns play well? Absolutely. But really, the Browns and Bengal games, haven't they pretty much looked like this, like the last, I don't know, but team just plays well against another team. Do the Browns always play well against the Bengals? Absolutely. I'm not surprised. Who thought? Yeah, we're so upset. Why? Why are you upset? And I think sometimes people who are college football fans, this is not college football. Even if somebody is considered this team is bad, you got professional players. They don't got first round picks. Too much of a difference. The last place team and the first on any given Sunday, anybody can win. So when anybody calls in and says, I hate the way my team played, they won it.
Hey, Bob, I'm dropping you because you're not agreeing with me. No, I'm dropping you. I'm dropping you because your call is cutting in and out, Bob. I love when you call all that, but either call back or what, but nothing you said was coming through clearly. I caught bits and pieces of it. I get what you're saying to a certain extent, but it's one thing if there's not patterns of this in years past, and then this comes out of nowhere. We've seen the Bengals do this, yes, against the Browns, but especially early on, there's a pattern of this team just not being prepared to play early. I know it's not college. Like last week, we expected Ohio State to do that. You can't expect teams to do that in the NFL. However, you can expect them to still look competent offensively, regardless of who they're going up against. When your quarterback and your two wide receivers are paid more as a trio than anyone else in the league, they put the target on their back that way, and they're kind of expected to do that. They didn't make any changes defensively because they were expected to have an offense to overcome that. But the bottom line is, even a hater like me, that's not who they are offensively. But you could still be critical of it when it happens, because if it's Zach Taylor, if it's whoever, someone's to blame for it. And yes, it could be because it's a matchup nightmare with Cleveland, which I've talked about for a while now. But at the same time, is it a matchup nightmare, or is it just the week one Bengals like we see every single year? But they at least came out on top. I know as we're wrapping this up, we have to talk about, I've been meaning to, not avoiding it. Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers yesterday. Look, a lot's been made. We keep talking about Cleveland, and man, imagine if they get the quarterback right, what that team can do. We've been saying that about the difference between the Browns and Pittsburgh is we've been saying if Cleveland can get the quarterback, imagine the direction that they go in. the Steelers have been a quarterback away for years now. They've had a defense that's good enough to win them a Super Bowl. And that defense, even on years where it's average, has been good enough to get you to playoff contention, sometimes backdoor your way into the playoffs. Your team's been painful to watch offensively. Your front office has been painful from my perspective of just being, you want to brag about the winning seasons, but not really being aggressive in the offseason to go that next mile. Can't say they didn't do that this year with Jalen Ramsey, going out and getting DK Metcalf. You go get Aaron Rodgers. It was kind of an untraditional Steelers offseason. You could tell that there's urgency there with TJ Watt. Everyone says the Browns are wasting Myles Garrett. I was going to say the same thing about the Steelers. The front office showed that urgency and not desperation in a bad way, but that, hey, we got to go get guys that can help us win and win now. It's 1 week. But I was high on Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. It's the one spot I didn't want him to go to because I thought if Aaron Rodgers if you wanted him to go to the Jets to raise up a franchise, he's too old to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you go put him in a well-run organization where he doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. That scared me. The Steelers situation scared me, and I thought he looked fantastic, and the Steelers looked great in week 1. But the side of the ball that was supposed to be the strong side ended up being the weaker side, and Aaron Rodgers in the offense was fantastic yesterday. Your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and your 1-0 Steelers one weekend?
He had to do all the heavy lifting because the run game was null and void. Offensive line was hot garbage. Defense was even more garbager, if that's a word. So it was all on Aaron Rodgers in the passing game. If the Steelers are going to go anywhere and make the playoffs, they have to get more balance and be able to run the ball, and the defense has to play to the level of your paycheck. I mean, if you go by PFF, and I know some people live and die by PFF, some people think it's overrated, whatever the case may be, TJ Watt and Jalen Ramsey balled out of control according to whatever it's called. You know what it's called. But
Pro Football Focus.
But the rest of the defense was horrendous. And this is not a shot at Justin Fields because he played outstanding. And perfectly honest, I think it's the best game Justin Fields has ever played. Threw for 200 yards, threw for a touchdown, ran for another like 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. And it wasn't just him running. It was the threat of his legs that opened up the pass game. So whatever adjustments that they tried to make in the second half didn't work. To be perfectly honest, the Steelers are just like the Cincinnati Bengals, lucky to get up out of there with a victory versus the New York Jets. But just like the Bengals fans, I will take it. I think that the defense will play a lot better in games to come because they won't be playing a dual threat quarterback anytime soon. But guess what? You play a dual quarterback twice a year, named Lamar Jackson, and to go anywhere, you're gonna have to go through that guy, Lamar Jackson. So ultimately, it was great for Aaron Rodgers. Can't sit here and say he did not play great because he did. He played great. Threw for 250 and 4 touchdowns. And if it wasn't for him, they get smoked. They get blown out. It will be a repeat of what happened in the playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens where they gave up 300 rushing yards because they couldn't score at all. But in this situation, they were able to score. And kudos to Boswell for hitting a 60-yarder. 60.
Gotta love those kickers, man.
From the logo, bruh.
This is why being a Browns fan is exactly why I sympathized with Urban Meyer when he was in Jackson. I remember hearing that story of Urban Meyer going up to the kicker and tried crying and being a victim. Oh, he told me to make the effing kick and kicked me. And I'm like, he has a point. I really wish Urban could just be the coach of the Browns for one day, just to go up to Schmitz or whatever his name is, kick him, say, make the effing kick, and then the Browns could fire him and then go back to Stefanski. That would be the greatest thing ever. Somebody's to kick him. Stefanski, he knows that we still trust him. Does he? I hope he doesn't know that. I hope he knows that everyone's mad at him today. Oh, Justin, come on. That you got to be your bullet. I don't care. I don't care. He makes more than me. Go make a kick. Go make a kick. Go make a kick. But yeah, Justin Fields yesterday, 16-22, 218 yards and a touchdown, including connecting with Garrett Wilson, the Buckeye connection right there. So
Indeed. They both wanted to play with each other. They looked great. And I mean, shoot, from everything we're seeing with the Buffalo Bills, looks like they're still going to be the guys that win the AFC East. But shoot, everybody had the Patriots penciled in for that second spot. I think the Jets are going to be that team. I mean, they played outstanding on offense. They still played good on defense, even though they gave up 34 points. It wasn't easy for the Steelers. They were bringing the house. They were bringing crazy blitzes. So I got the Jets as the second best team in the AFC East.
All right. Well, with that said, we'll tomorrow dive back into more of some of these, like the AFC North is wild. It appears every team in the AFC North has an elite side of the ball. But every team in the AFC North has glaring deficiencies and weaknesses, and it's just a matter of Is that elite side of the ball strong enough to overcome the deficiencies on the other side? So that's something we'll kind of comb through as the week goes on, especially heading into week 2. But week 1 wraps up tonight. Vikings and Bears. Caleb Williams, year 2, technically year 2, but the real year 1 for J.J. McCarthy, top 10 pick for the Vikings last year's draft. Vikings Bears tonight, Monday Night Football, 8:15 is kickoff. Minnesota 1.5-point favorite. How do you see this one with everything we've seen throughout week 1? How do you see this one unfolding?
Got the Bears winning this. If Jordan Addison was playing, I would have the Vikings because they would have 2 outstanding weapons on the outside along the side of a tight end. But I think that the Bears in their physicality are going to win this game. And I look for Caleb Williams to have some good gains on the ground using his legs, because you already know that their defense from Minnesota is going to be super aggressive. So look for like Caleb Williams to, like on some QB draws, like on some third and shorts and stuff like that. Pop pass to the tight ends. They're going to be 2 tight end heavy with the Bears this season. Loveland from Michigan, he's a big time tight end for them. So I'm looking for those 2 to have a good connection in a big game.
Fair enough. All right, good stuff. Again, Vikings Bears wrap up week 1 of the NFL season coming up later on tonight. Tomorrow, more college football heavy. Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports will be on with us, of course. The Reds took 2 or 3 from the Mets over the weekend. They do later on tonight have the Padres, another team ahead of them. I said on Friday, I'm done with the Reds, but I was giving them one more chance. I said I was going to let them use the Mets series, and I was going to come in Monday, and if they took care of business against the Mets, I was going to scoot back up in my chair and pay attention a little bit. The Reds took 2 or 3 from the Mets over the weekend. The team that's directly in front of them in the standings, or 2 teams ahead of them in the standings at this point for that final wild card spot. It's like 18 games left. They're 4 games back. They play a lot. They play the A's. You have the Padres. You have the Pirates. There's opportunities here. We'll see if the Reds squander that. Nonetheless, we'll talk more about that later on in the week. Sam LaCure is going to be on with us as we talk about the Reds winding things down, hopefully winding things down to extend the season, hopefully. If not, we'll get into off-season talk at the same time we do every year. So it's kind of crazy. Terry Francona, we're a month away from the Terry Francona anniversary, because the Reds hired him in October or whatever. So it's that was the Reds. The Reds making news in October, hiring a manager, not winning a playoff series or anything. So painful. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by our friends over at Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. We kicked off the Sunday morning tailgate show this past Sunday at the Centerville location. We're going to be at the Frickers on Miller Lane coming up this Sunday. Keith Byers and I, as we talk all things week 2 of the NFL season. We appreciate everyone that came out on Sunday. We had a full crowd out there again on the patio out at Centerville, and the Miller Lane location has a big covered patio as well. So we're going to be set up out there. We're pretty excited about that. KB, already a couple cigars into the NFL season
already.
So nonetheless. All right, good stuff. Until tomorrow, it's been the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.